power play has been one of the best in the league for, 4 or 5 past years. So we're going to have to be very disciplined. We're going to have to play fundamentally sound, and we're going to have to find a way to get pucks in the back of the net. That's been something that we've struggled with this year, but I feel that it's we're on the verge of scoring some goals. It's not because of lack of chances. It's just we haven't been able to get it past some goaltenders, but I feel that will come. The good side is we got to continue to play strong defense. I think in most of our games we've been really tight defensively, especially 5-on-5.
Okay, if you want to ask a question, just raise your hand up or just type it in the chat and we'll get to you. We'll start with Bob Joyce from ESPN Radio.
Mike, what does Northeastern do so well in the power play that makes them so effective?
Well, they've had a spread unit for a long time, and they're great at shrinking the zone and getting you to bite. If you try to be aggressive on them, they're really good at knowing what their outs are and finding that guy that's open, and then they expose you. They're very, very good, Bob, at finding the 2-on-1. On every power play, can you move the penalty killers around and get them in a position where you can make them vulnerable to a 2-on-1, and Northeastern's excellent at doing that.
Dan Connolly, go ahead, Dan.
Coach, you mentioned your defense there, and I looked it up, and you've only given up 12 goals in 5-on-5 play this season. So how much of that do you attribute to the way you've played overall defensively, and then how much credit goes to Tomas for the way he's played too?
I think it would be fair to say it's a combination of both. I think Tomas has, as I've said, been very solid all year long. I think defensively as a team, we've done a good job of protecting the house, protecting in the scoring areas, the grade A scoring areas. We're doing a pretty good job of limiting those. I think our last game we played was the first time that a team, really outshot us in that area, in the grade A area. And I think it's team defense too. It's also a lot of transition, not giving up a lot of 3-on-2s or 2-on-1s. I think that's really important. And a lot of the credit goes to the forwards and their back pressure. When we back pressure the puck really hard, we don't give up a lot of odd man rushes.
Adam from ESPN Radio. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, it was the USA-Canada game last night, so Russia had already been eliminated. What's been the process of getting Vlad and Yan back to campus and getting them back integrated with the team?
Well, hopefully they're on a flight right now, headed back. They should, if all goes well, land in Boston today at 4:00 and be back on campus roughly around 6:30. So they'll be back. They'll be tested in the morning, and we'll see if they're going to be eligible to play tomorrow or not. But for sure, I expect both of them back in the lineup on Saturday.
Go ahead, Dan Connolly.
Coach, to go back to your offense, you mentioned that you feel like you've been getting the chances, but it seems like the puck, especially on the power play, seems to slip out of the zone for you a lot. Is that something that you've seen and needs to be corrected, or is that just the way the puck bounces sometimes?
I think that would be a fair assessment. The exception of our last game, I thought our power play was pretty good, and we got a lot of looks, and that's why we scored a goal. We've actually, up at New Hampshire, it wasn't bad either. We had some really, really good chances that just didn't go in. So I thought our power plays looked pretty good the last 2 games we've played. I've been pleased with it. But previously it was something that we spoke about. We were getting one good chance and then it was done, one and done. And that's not what makes a successful power play. You've got to be able to get that chance, retrieve it, kick it back out, and create another chance. And it's the multiple shot shifts on a power play that make you really dangerous and eventually will get you scoring goals.
Well, Coach, I know you've touched on this a couple of times in the other Zooms we've done, but now that those guys, that Vlad and Yan will be coming back, having them being the 4th and 5th players in the program, to do that, to play at the World Juniors. What's that process like? How do you draw on those other guys' experiences and what how they come back and how they adjust to the,
I lost you there for a second, Bill. Were you saying what's the transition like coming back from the World Juniors?
Yeah. What do you expect them to bring back from the World Juniors, and like, what's it going to be like for them the next few weeks? Kind of, they've been gone since November. What's that whole process going to be like, do you think?
Yeah, I think for Vlad, it's going to be a different experience than Yan, because Vlad's used to playing on the power play, playing a lot of minutes here, and he really didn't see those minutes at the World Juniors that he's normally used to seeing. So I think he's going to be energized and excited to get back and play. Yan played a little bit more, and sometimes I know when Tage got back and after they won the gold medal, he was exhausted, and it took him a week or so to re-energize. So, the way our schedule looks right now, we're playing Thursday, Saturday, and Wednesday, and then we may have that following weekend off, like a 10-day break. And I would certainly encourage Yan and Vlad to take 2 or 3 days away from the rink. Just they've been in a rink, for 6 weeks straight. They need a break. So I do think that's helpful for those guys when they get back. But I know they'll both be excited to get back and play for us. They've been texting us and telling us that, but that's one thing, but the body also has to speak. And if they need that physical rest, then they're certainly going to get it.
Let's go to Adam from ESPN Radio.
On over the weekend against UNH, that home game, it seemed like Cassidy Bose was just all over the place. Has he made discernible strides for you in gameplay? Because it seems as if that perhaps, even though he didn't score, was one of his better games this year.
Yeah, I thought he played very well here. He's been a pretty solid player all year long for us. He's killed some penalties for us. He's played some big minutes against other teams' top lines, and I really like his game. I think he's just scratching the surface of what kind of player he can be. He's a kid who has the ability to score goals too. He shoots the puck really well.
Dan Connolly.
It doesn't seem like the freshmen have, totaled a ton of points so far. How much can you determine, like, what a freshman is doing? Like, how much can you judge their performance based off on their points as a freshman, and how much is just you'd rather have them playing well, knowing eventually the points are going to come?
I think it's the latter, Dan. I want to know that they're playing fundamentally sound and they're playing good, solid hockey. I've coached many guys who are NHL superstars, and Cam Atkinson, I think, had 7 goals his freshman year. Nate Gerby might have had 9. And these are guys that wound up scoring 30 in college and have scored 30 in the NHL. It's a tough adjustment for a lot of them, and as long as they're playing fundamentally sound, they're helping our team, and the points will come. And sometimes that's a hard adjustment because they're used to scoring 50, 60 points a year before they get here, and they've played 9 games and they have 2 points. And what am I doing wrong? And we have to do, that's our job as coaches, to say, you're not doing anything wrong. It's hard to score in college, and just keep, believing and trusting in the struggle, because the finish line's always worth it. And that's what we have to keep letting these kids know.
Bob Joyce.
Yeah, on that theme, Mike, it just seems like Artem's ready to break out. I almost get that sense, and I think it was Adam and I who have talked about this, or maybe even Dan. If Artem gets the first, it could snowball. He's been pretty solid for you all season, hasn't he?
He has, and he's actually had a great week of practice. We just got out of a staff meeting and we're talking about him. So he just has to keep doing that, stringing good practices together and good games. And as I said, I believe it will snowball for him because he's a super talented kid offensively.
Mike, is it easier said than done for a freshman to string good practices and games together, or just does it depend on the individual?
It's probably easier said than done, because I think they get frustrated and down very quickly. They're always, not only are they trying to, do it internally, they have this drive to be very good. And then that's coupled with, I don't want to let the upperclassmen on the team down either. This is a new team I'm on, so I don't want to let these guys down. And sometimes that can be a, double-edged sword for them, and they need to just relax. And that's our job as coaches, to make them relax and let them know that, hey, today's discomfort, is going to be tomorrow's strength. And you got to believe in that.
Dan Connolly, go ahead.
Looking at the lines, you've had, I think, 3 freshmen as the centers for pretty much most of the season. So why do you, does it matter that it's a freshman at center as opposed to a veteran? And what was behind that decision?
Well, some of it's predicated on the fact that we lost, Ben graduated and Ruslan, who played center for us last year, left. So Justin Howell, who played center for us. So we lost 3 centers. Now Johnny Evans can slide in and take draws for us, and he's done very well with that. Cale Howarth. I talk a lot about versatility, and you got to be interchangeable as players. And if you notice, a lot of times we'll have Johnny Evans or Cale taking draws in the offensive zone if it's on their backhand sometimes. So the position necessarily really, I don't think it's not as cut and dried as it used to be, where if you were a center, you were always a center. And kind of the way we play defense doesn't really matter whether if you're a center or a wing. The first guy back into our zone has a job. And a lot of times it's a wing that's back in the zone before the center. So it's not old time hockey where the center is always going to play defense down low. So it's, I think that's a portion of the game that's kind of metamorphosed away from everybody having set positions in the defensive zone. So it really doesn't hold to that old true definition of what a center needs to be. And on the flip side, they're pretty good. They're pretty good on Hudson's done a great job on faceoffs. So we put him out there against New Hampshire on the penalty kill and on their 6-on-4, and he won 4 out of 5 draws for us and Cassidy's done a nice job in the faceoff dot as well. So, and I believe Artem's probably 50% on the faceoff dot. So as long as they're not getting, annihilated in the faceoff dot, it's fine having a freshman play in that position.
We'll go to Tim Never, who's calling the game for Nesson. Tim?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I'm good, Tim. How are you?
Good. Just kind of a general question about, how it's been for you and your staff and the players for that matter, dealing with the flexibility of the schedule, the way it has to be this year, where sometimes you don't know who you're playing from week to week. But how has that been from the coaching standpoint, from your staff standpoint?
It was very challenging and frustrating, especially around the Thanksgiving break, where we, had 2 weekends in a row were canceled, and you get all geared up to play games, and then the games get canceled, and that was very frustrating. I think, Tim, we've just become numb to it. It's just, let's walk into the rink, and whatever the schedule is today, that's the schedule we're going to deal with. And I think our kids have become numb to it. Our staff has, and you learn to, another thing that's easier said than done, you learn to control what you can control and accept whatever schedule's thrown at you, then that's the schedule we're going to play. So I think that's the only way you can go about it. Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself mad. And
Exactly.
You're not going to be very productive if you're worried about it.
Yeah. And just last thing for me too, just on the new face-off rules this year, after you've had a good sample of it, what are your thoughts?
I love it. I really do. I think it speeds the game up. Instead of centers getting thrown out, I think it is. It's like a second serve in tennis, when
I thought,
when you knock that first one out, the second one doesn't have as much juice on it as the first one, because you want to make sure. And I think when you get that warning, you're like, oh, I don't want to take a penalty. And we've watched games where it has happened. So your center, you're a little more cautious and wary of jumping early. And I think that gives a great advantage to the team that hasn't been warned. So, but the biggest thing, Tim, is I like how it speeds a game up.
All right. Thanks. We'll see you Saturday.
All right. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dan. Back to you.
Coach, how's Kale recovering, and what's your injury report for tomorrow?
Kale is not going to play tomorrow. And John Spetz is questionable right now. So that hasn't been decided yet, but he's questionable as well. So I don't think we'll see Kale this weekend, possibly Wednesday, but he's certainly out for the weekend.
Thanks.
Coach, if we could touch on real quick. So Roman Kinal had the game winner on Friday at UNH, but he came back this season. He had to miss all of last year with an injury, and just your thoughts on his journey back, what he's given outside of scoring the goal on Friday, but what he's provided to the team this year, and what it's been like to see him be able to play hockey again.
He's been a great story for us, and he was a great story at the end of last year because, quite frankly, I think at the end of Roman had a pretty solid freshman year, but he lost his way a little bit off the ice. Like academically, he struggled. I think he was distracted the second semester of his freshman year, and his grades suffered, and had some issues there. And we were working on him to get him back on track off the ice. And while we're doing that, he's faced with a really life-threatening situation. It was scary to think about. You have a rib was clotting one of his veins, which is so dangerous. And he was having numbness in his arm. And that's how we found out. And he has that surgery, immediate surgery, to remove a rib and remove a blood clot. And I think it really forced him to take a deep look inside himself. Not playing hockey might have been one of the best things for him last year because he wound up winning the award on our team for the best student of the year. So I think he took a really tough situation and made him, not only himself better academically, but he made himself better as a person. And it's showing in spades this year because he and Harrison Reese paired together have arguably been our most consistent, solid performers all season long. And his dad's a Northeastern grad, so I know he'll be fired up for these games this weekend. But I could not be more proud of him forget his on-ice play, but what he's done off the ice to improve himself as a human being has been really special to watch.
Go ahead, Adam.
So jumping off of that, what did it look like for him as he was recovering and his presence around the team last year in terms of at practice and those sorts of things?
Well, it was he couldn't do anything until he literally could not do a thing, I think, till January. And then in late February, we were able to get him back on the ice. And I know that gave the kids a big lift. He was never going to play, but just having him back out there for practice and skating, I thought, the kids watched what he went through and what he had to do for just like with the training staff on our team, physical therapy to get back to being a Division I college hockey player. It was a lot of work. And I think also the kids saw what he did in the classroom and how he, turned himself into a 3.5 student. I think that went a long way. It means a lot to the guys on our team just because he wasn't playing games. He could have taken a different path and he didn't. He chose a path to make himself better, and a lot of our players recognize that. They were so excited when he scored the other day. The bench went bananas, and I was glad he was able to get that game winner.